Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And these are all the end time signs and prophecies that would be taking place before the second coming of Yahawashi Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, the end of this current age of the rulership of the heathen nations that we're in, chiefly under the biblical Edomites, who are known as the so-called white people, and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of Israel, ruled by the true children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. And I did a video yesterday opening up with this verse dealing with the pestilences, and in this video I'll be dealing with the famines which are quickly coming upon us. And as it says in verse 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Remember, we're just in the beginning stages right now. It's about to get a hell of a lot worse out here, because these are the times of the judgment of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi on you people on this planet for all the wickedness you've been committing. But I'll be profiling an article on endoftheamericandream.com, just like the article yesterday I used was on endoftheamericandream.com dealing with the pestilences, but this one's titled, The Drought is Crippling Tomato Production in California, and that is going to mean less spaghetti sauce for Americans in 2023. And as we'll see in this article, due to the severe droughts taking place in the western half of the United States of America, farmers aren't able to plant or cultivate the sufficient amount of crops that they want to, which is going to lead to what? Empty store shelves, food shortages, and ultimately famines. And last week, I did a video showing that there are droughts taking place in Europe as well, which is hampering their agricultural production over there. So we can see the Most High is a man of his word. He said biblical famines would take place on this planet in the last days, and here we are with them taking place right before our very eyes. You may not care too much about what is going on in California right now, but you should. The worst drought in 1,200 years is absolutely devastating the production of fruits and vegetables in the state, and that is really bad news for all of us. In particular, we are being warned that tomato production is likely to be way below expectation this year. But if California doesn't grow enough tomatoes, there won't be enough spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, or tomato pasta to go around in 2023. And there will be a whole lot of really cranky people out there if that were to happen. And it's going to get much worse than people just being cranky. These food shortages and famines are going to get so severe that people are going to start attacking each other and breaking into each other's houses to get their hands on whatever food they can. This is 2 Esdras chapter 15 in the Apocrypha, verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And the modern day sword, especially in the United States of America, is the gun, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, food shortages, famines, and for great tribulation. And what's funny is that before I read this article a couple of days ago, I was at the grocery store waiting in the checkout line, and there was a guy in front of me who was buying like 5 jars of tomato sauce and 1 jar of Alfredo sauce. And I was joking with the person I was with about it, like, look at this guy buying all this stuff. But then I read this article and see that due to droughts, they're expecting less production of tomatoes and tomato-related products to make it to the store shelves. So, you know, instantly what came to my mind is that, hey, this person probably read similar information like this and is preparing themselves accordingly. It's funny how the spirit works. I really wish that more people would take this crisis seriously. If farmers do not grow our food, we do not eat. We need them to be successful, and right now they are repeatedly telling us that we are facing a scenario that we have never faced before. In California, the big issue is a lack of moisture. It takes a lot of water to grow tomatoes, and the head of the California Tomato Growers Association is openly admitting that we desperately need rain. California leads the world in production of processing tomatoes, the variety that gets canned and used in commercial kitchens to make some of the most popular foods. The problem is the worst drought in 1,200 years is forcing farmers to grapple with a water crisis that's undermining the crop, threatening to further push up prices from salsa to spaghetti sauce. We desperately need rain, Mike Montana, head of the California Tomato Growers Association, said in an interview. We are getting to a point where we don't have inventory left to keep fulfilling the market demand. Did you catch what he was saying in that last sentence? When there isn't enough inventory to meet demand, that is when shortages happen. Did you ever imagine that a day would come when we would see a tomato shortage in America? Hey, 2 Esdras chapter 6 verse 22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. Farmers, such as tomato farmers, not being able to sow their crops due to water shortages and droughts. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and with them not being able to plant or cultivate enough tomatoes to send to market, that's going to mean emptier store shelves for tomato products, among a whole host of other products that aren't being planted or harvested. Hey, these prophecies are literally flying off the pages. Even now, prices have risen to absolutely absurd heights. According to one industry insider, tomato paste prices are up as much as 80% from a year ago. There are simply not enough acres of processing tomatoes being planted this year to ensure that everybody gets their full supply. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses, your Walmarts, grocery stores, Rouse's, Kroger's, Publix, whatever you have around you, shall suddenly be found empty, said R. Greg Pruitt, sales and energy manager for Ingomar Packing Company, one of the world's biggest tomato processors. The water is either too expensive or just not available at any cost. Such pressures are being reflected in Ingomar's processed products. Tomato pasta prices for clients of the company, which sell to some of the largest U.S. food brands, are up as much as 80% from a year ago. With inventories dropping to critically low levels, though supply isn't available for everyone. 80%, I can't get over that figure. And as California gets drier and drier, things are only going to get worse. Sadly, a lot of people out there simply do not understand the importance of California's agriculture industry. Without California, we would be in a world of hurt. Slovakia. With warm climate and rich soil, California is a highly diverse agricultural state. California produces over a third of the U.S. vegetables and 2/3 of the country's fruits and nuts. What would we do if our vegetables and 2/3 of our fruits and nuts were gone? The truth is that we need California to do well, and right now, that is just not happening. And as this situation progressively gets worse, and those full storehouses become emptier and emptier, you're going to see 2 Esdras chapter 15 come into place. A man having no pity upon his neighbor, but destroying their houses with the force of the sword due to the lack of bread. And it's not just California farmers that are being affected in the United States. You got farmers all across the country reporting them not being able to plant or cultivate a sufficient amount of crops. I think it was in Idaho It was either Idaho or Iowa where you had potato farmers saying, hey, we haven't been able to plant or get enough potatoes that we want to, so expect potato shortages and higher prices on potatoes. And these are plagues that Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is sending as judgment on the United States of America. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verses 12 to 13. Egypt shall mourn. And this isn't talking about ancient Egypt or Mizraim under the biblical Hamites or those so-called Africans. It's talking about spiritual modern-day Egypt as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. The United States of America under these modern-day spiritual Egyptians, these American Edomites, who are doing the exact same thing that the ancient Egyptians did to the children of Israel, afflicting them, having them in captivity. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. Droughts, famines, pestilences, you name it. They that till the ground shall mourn. And who are those that till the ground? Farmers. And as we can clearly see from that article, these farmers are mourning due to droughts and other issues that aren't allowing them to sow their lands with crops. For their seeds shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with fearful constellations, adverse events taking place, droughts, stuff like that. Droughts, in some cases you have crickets and locusts eating up what they call it, the Mormon cricket, in some parts of the country, eating up a lot of crops. And you can just go look up in the news and see that there are a whole host of issues affecting farmers all across the country and their ability to plant and cultivate their crops. Meanwhile, in other southwestern states, the biggest story, also another thing that's been affecting some farmers' ability to plant their crops is major floods taking place across the country. Meanwhile, in other southwestern states, the biggest story at the moment is what the drought is doing to the cattle industry. Last month, I wrote an entire article about how ranchers in Texas are being forced to sell off cattle in unprecedented numbers due to the endless drought. During past droughts, ranchers would often send their cattle to areas that had more rain. But this time around, that isn't practical because the drought is covering nearly the entire western half of the nation. Sky-high input prices coupled with ongoing drought conditions in much of the country are exacerbating the sell-offs. National Cattlemen's Beef Association CEO Colin Woodall says this year's drought is more widespread than the regional droughts seen in years past, when producers could send their cattle to other parts of the country to graze until it started raining again. With each passing week, more ranchers are giving up and selling off their herds while they still have something to sell. And many of those that are near retirement don't plan to get back into the game once this multi-year drought is finally over. Cattle producer John Crawford said many of them are just dumping all of what they have. I've talked to them and they've said, "Hey, I don't think I'm coming back in," said Crawford. "I'm old enough now and I'm just through almost sell everything and stop." Because so many cattle are being sold off right now, they will help to stabilize short-term beef prices, but in the long run, beef prices are going to go far higher than they are right now. Every time another herd is sold off and slaughtered, the size of the national cattle population gets even smaller. It has been shrinking for some time, but this crisis is rapidly accelerating the process. A few months ago, I did an article about how the media is now calling beef a luxury meat. And these few sentences remind me of 2nd Esdras chapter 16. I'm going to start at 21, but I'm going to read these first few sentences real quick. because so many cattle are being sold off right now that will help to stabilize short-term beef prices. Cheaper prices for beef. And to the average person out here who doesn't pay attention to the news, they think that's a good thing. Oh, gas prices have gone down a little bit, and look, beef prices have gone down a little bit. Things must be getting better. But that's the trap that Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai has you people in. 2 Ezra 16 verse 21, behold, victuals, such as food like beef, shall be so good cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. But in the long run, beef prices are going to go far higher than they are right now. Every time another herd is sold off and slaughtered, the size of the national cattle population gets even smaller. So what does that mean? Less beef, food shortages, famines, as it said. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. So right there it says that a lot of these people on this planet are going to be judged and put to death by famines. And you had the head of the UN World Food Program say that they're expecting famines of biblical proportions to take place globally, and that I think he said around 200 million people face being on the verge of starvation if they're not there already. But if you happen to avoid starving to death, as it says, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Hey, people breaking into your houses and putting you to death and taking whatever food you have left, spoiling their houses with the force of the sword due to the lack of bread. You getting killed in a civil war, which is going to take place in the United States of America again. You getting killed in a racial skirmish. You getting killed during a state of martial law by these troops, getting sent off to a martial law concentration camp and tortured to death, getting drafted to go fight in World War III, are ultimately getting destroyed by nuclear missiles when they hit this place. So if you're not of that elect number of the nation of Israel in the United States of America, you've got nothing good coming your way but death, judgment, and destruction. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope your sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. As we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.